You're not going to put me in a box. I used to hear all the time, you don't look like a teacher. Damn, what is a teacher supposed to look like? You don't look like you can cook. Excuse me? You got to be this old, overweight, uneducated woman to have your way in the kitchen. Or you can't be sexy and be a teacher. You can't be a little ratchet and be educated. You can be all of these things. I'm a mother. I am a grandmother. I was a wife. I am educated, extremely, but I am ratchet. And I like to twerk every now and then. And I can cook.
Hello, and welcome to the Randall Osché Podcast, where honest conversations take the lead. Each week, we sit down with entrepreneurs, artists, thinkers, and change makers to unpack how they got from there to here and what they learned along the way. Real stories, no filters, lessons earned through experience, so you can take what's useful and leave the rest. Whether you're tuning in during your commute, a workout, or while making dinner, we're glad you're here. So take a seat, relax, grab a cup of tea, and join in the conversation. Now, let's get into this week's episode.
Today, we'd like to welcome Vanetta Roy to the show. Vanetta Roy is an educator of 23 years, a restaurateur, as featured on Food Network's Great Food Truck Race, Season 18, representing her newest restaurant, Eat My Biscuits. And she's an aspiring actress. Vanetta, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. Before we get into it, one of the premise of the podcast for you and for the listeners, the key tenet that I follow and why I created the podcast, that I believe that others have come before us and accomplished what we are striving for. And a great way for us as individuals to go further faster is to meet those people, learn from their experiences, understand the lessons they picked up along the way, and avoid some of the missteps on our own journeys. As I've reflected on these interviews that I've conducted, there's some lessons I've learned along the way that I know are core tenets or truths or principles, but they are: people need people, start before you're ready, always bet on yourself. Most things that one wants to accomplish will always take longer and be harder than anticipated. Also, even though you don't see it, the people you admire for their success, whatever that success may be, have devoted certainly their 10,000 hours or more to creating that success. And lastly, scared money don't make no money. One of my favorite sayings. So with that long preamble, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here. I'm very appreciative of your time. I really do enjoy these conversations. Where to get started? So in doing some research on you and your restaurant and your journey before the podcast, you, as a child, you had a dream to own a restaurant. And one of my first jobs was in a restaurant, and I've always enjoyed being in the kitchen as well. So I see a little bit of my story in that as well. But you've described your upbringing near Chicago as being part of the ghetto Cosbys. I've done my research. When you were a little...
That's what they used to call our family, the ghetto Cosby.
Yeah. You got to be careful with what you say. You can find anything on the internet.
Oh, I think.
Accurate, right? Yeah. So when you were a little girl making your hand-drawn menus for your family and playing restaurant, what was on that menu and what did it feel like to be the owner even then?
Wow. I'm literally flabbergasted right now. On that menu, on my little notepad that I would have, it was ham and cheese sandwich, ham sandwich. So it would have the ingredients: lettuce, cheese, mayo. You could have a pickle on her side, or you could have a side with butter cookies, the little flower-shaped cookies with a hole in the middle. Whatever we had in the kitchen at the time that I could actually make. So, but it was consistently ham sandwiches, on the menu. As I got older and I could actually use the stove, it became grilled cheese with ham. So you could add the ham. And each of those would have a little price point. If you wanted a pickle, it was like an extra 50 cents. It wouldn't be real money, of course. But then there were times like where I did have lemonade stands, hot dog stands, where it was real money and it was real customers. But in the house, it was more so of when family would be over. I grew up with a lot of boys. I have one brother and I have a ton of cousins that grew up with me like brothers, all boys. And they would say, because my family calls me Nick, they would say, "Oh, I wish I had one of Nick ham sandwiches right now." But they would say it so they knew I was nearby and would hear it. And another one would be like, "Oh, I want one of her grilled cheese sandwiches. They be good with the extra cheese." And I come in there, the store about to open, and that was my cue. And they knew they would get some food. My parents would be at work. They knew they would get some food. And I just enjoyed doing it. But I never wanted to, which is odd because I never saw myself as owning a restaurant. Although that was like one of my key moments of play as a child.
Yeah. Where do you think that entrepreneurial spirit comes from? Even from a young age, kids and play with dolls or toys or matchboxes.
I feel like it was innate. Right? But my dad worked for the post office. And while he worked for the post office, he also sold something called the Bohemian Diet by Dick Gregory. And it was like this nutritional supplement that was a powder and you would blend it. You would put it in with apple juice or water or milk or whatever and blend it. And he would make it for us, but he would also sell it. And I remember him with that little hand video recorder making his videos. "Hi, I'm Eric Roy, your Bohemian Diet distributor." And I think that was my first take on really understanding sales and entrepreneurial. And then my granddad owned a TV shop where he used to repair televisions and electronics. So maybe it's just kind of in me, but I just never thought of it as I got older. That was something that was, like I said, very natural for me growing up.
Yeah. I've seen this in my other interviews as well, in my personal life and observations. But when I mentioned everybody's put in their 10,000 hours before, like you being exposed to that, my hypothesis would be is like you were learning how to be an entrepreneur without going to school and studying how to be an entrepreneur because it was around you all the time, right? My parents and my grandparents weren't entrepreneurs. They didn't have businesses. I had a desire as a kid. I had this entrepreneurial spirit and drive and still do to this day, but it wasn't like reinforced to me. So the things I picked up were because I read a book or because I listened to a podcast or because I've tried to do it on my own. Early on, I interviewed an executive coach, Don Asher, author of 12 books. I think of him in high regard. And Don Asher's first job out of college was an executive coach. Like he's never been an executive. But in my conversation with him, his father was an executive. So their dinner conversations were about business.
Regarding,
we're about how to manage
what he
people.
heard or what he was exposed to.
Yeah. So he had 18 years of experience before he left the house and went off to college of learning how his dad moved through the world as an executive. And he just absorbed this information. I think one of the other things I'm obsessed with is like inputs from your environment, like what you consume into your body is reflective of what your body looks like and how you move through the world. But the input for Dawn and the inputs for you were like, I'm around entrepreneurs and now I have an entrepreneurial spirit. That doesn't surprise me at all.
So weird because I never really thought about that until you just said it to me. I never really thought about that because as you get older, I was just having this conversation with someone. Fear kind of steps in, right? And society steps in of what you should do and what's safe and what makes sense. And you start to rationalize things. And so the thought of being an entrepreneur as I got older, it really just kind of went out the door. And what brought it back alive would be my brother. That's the one who I saw as a risk taker, fearless. When we were younger, he was the one that initiated not the ones in the house that didn't make any money, not me and my restaurant. He initiated, Nate, we should sell some lemonade. And we were outside selling lemonade. I feel like he was the mind behind it when it really came to making the money of it. And I was more of the fun and the joy of serving.
Yeah.
Servitude. I am a natural server. That's who I am. Cabbage Patch Kids. I had about 6 of them. I literally woke up every morning, changed diapers, changed clothes, and rotated each of them. If they were in a playpen, now you're in a high chair. If you was in a high chair, now you're in a playpen. One is in a carrier, one is in a car seat. I did this clockwork every morning. Whereas my brother, when it comes to the business aspect of it, I love the people part of it. He's more of the business model behind it. And he's the one that really got me as an adult saying, Nick, you should do this. You got this.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I love that. People need people, right?
We do.
I wanted to circle back, and you had just mentioned it about the going from playing business and the menus to actually starting a business with the lemonade stands and hot dog stands. So your older or younger brother?
Older. He's a year and a half older.
So your older brother.
He looks older too, but I just act older.
Well said. So it was his idea to take it to another step. Were the lemonade stands and the hot dog stands something that, were they revenue generators? Were you just doing it to do something, or?
So it would be around the time, let's just say, we grew up in Oak Park, and Oak Park is a little suburb right out of Chicago. They would be doing construction, and I kind of remember this vividly. And he's like, oh, we should sell lemonade. I know they got to be thirsty. He saw a demand for it and saw the opportunity to make money. So we ran in, we made these little lemonades. We sat outside. My parents helped us get the little stand and table and all of that. And we sold lemonade. He was the one that created the price point. When we dug a hole in the backyard, started a fire, and roasted hot dogs right there in this hole that we dug in the backyard, and sold the hot dogs. And I just remember doing all the work and my brother doing all the selling. I don't even know what happened to the money. He probably kept it all. Who knows?
That sounds like something a big brother would do.
Yeah.
And your parents were supportive of that, right? Like they might not have known.
It.
Yeah. I love that.
And my dad worked at the post office. My mom was a registered nurse.
Yeah. So you were also in service as well before you made this transition. So you spent 2 decades as a special education teacher in the Chicago public schools. Many people think of teaching and hospitality as being worlds apart, but how did 25 years in the classroom actually prepare you for the journey that you're on right now?
First of all, I don't know if it's me that chose this for me or God, right? But they're the 2 most difficult professions ever. In preparing for them, it's about people and a genuine love for people, be it children or adults. And it's about teaching. So when I'm in the kitchen, I'm always teaching. When I'm in the front of the house with my servers, I'm always teaching. So it still has to have a sense of management. So in the classroom, it's classroom management. In a restaurant, it's restaurant management. But it's very similar in being organized, in being leading by example, in giving grace, in having flexibility, and every day being, you have no idea what's going to happen, especially with special education. You never know what is going to happen with these kids. And it's the same thing in the restaurant industry. You don't know the customers that you're coming in contact with, which is one thing I like because it's always different. You get your set people that always come, your loyal customers, but then you also get new people. So it's like a best of both worlds. And then it helps that everybody can tie their shoe. It's simple things, right?
Yeah.
That helps. But I think it's all in service. And if that is who you are as a person and that's where your heart is, you're just going to do it well because you really have a genuine concern for humanity and for people. So that's how I feel like they tie in together.
When you're teaching, let's just focus on the restaurant. Say you have a new server, you're showing them the ropes, or even maybe a veteran employee. Are you making a thoughtful, mindful teaching moment or conversation to them? Do you have to think about there's a lesson in this, or do the words just come out of your mouth?
Most of the time, it just flows.
Yeah.
It's just automatic. And I may say later, like, whoa, that was a teaching moment.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of review it.
Yeah.
But usually it's very natural. So for example, as a restaurant owner, I have a lot of servers, right? And my servers are young. Most of them are young. They're all younger than me. And when you know better, you do better. But if you haven't been exposed to much, then let's just say customer service, for example. It has a look, it has a feel, it has a sound. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? If you haven't experienced customer service, you don't understand that. And so that's a big thing with me in the front of the house because they're young and most of their outing, they don't experience customer service because they go into clubs. They're outside like that or they're going to grab and goes. Oftentimes they're not experiencing fine dining, type. And although I'm not fine dining, I want the quality and the expectations of that. And so if they can't experience it or they haven't experienced, then it's my job to bring it here. This is what it looks like. And sometimes my delivery is trash because I'm on the go, right?
You don't have, yeah.
I don't have time to coddle. I ain't got time for that. You fucking up. This is what's wrong. This is what needs to be fixed. But because my staff and I are very connected, it's like family, that what I say, even when I say it out of anger and I'm upset or disappointed, they know it's for them to be better. It's a decision I'm making for business. They know I'm expecting something that they're very capable of delivering. And so they respect it.
Everybody's there to accomplish the same mission too, right?
And that's why I don't like being called boss. We're all colleagues. We work together to make this work. I hate to be referred to as boss. I will do boss shit when necessary, okay?
Yeah.
What? We are colleagues and we are working together for the betterment of this business. I make them feel safe that their opinion matters. And sometimes I say, okay, I heard you, but I don't give a shit. And this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, oh, I like that idea. Let's do that. So I'll say, Mel just suggested that we do this. What do you all think? I like that. So it's very family-like here. And I was the same way with my classroom. In my classroom, you could not leave out of my classroom without me telling my students that I love them. Students have never heard that before. They don't say it to their own mothers. So it's a family. And when people feel respected and when people feel valued, students will do their homework when they feel valued. They will respect what you say. They will respect what you do. They'll be children and act up sometimes. But especially teaching special education, they didn't curse at me. They didn't throw things at me. I didn't experience those things that a lot of special education teachers experience. I may have experienced it once, but it was never a second time because of the way I handled it. I would tell them, I didn't like you today, but I love you always. So we're going to start over tomorrow. It's a new day. I want to see that big, beautiful smile. When you come in here, you're going to see mine. And it's the same thing that happens here in Eat My Biscuits.
Yeah, I think you could write a book on leadership. Like, it's just, I agree with everything you're saying. And getting back like to the inputs, like if you haven't experienced this level of customer service, then how would you know otherwise? So of course that's going to create like a teachable moment. And it's good for you to recognize that not everybody has the same background or perspective as you do or experience. And here you are to like provide and cultivate the experience for your guests. And that means that you have to teach people that you employ of how to move through this restaurant and what you want that product to look like. Let's back up a moment. So you're from Chicago, right?
Yes.
You taught in Chicago. You had another restaurant in Chicago?
I did. About 12 years. I had it for 12 years, actually. I think I sold it a month before my 12-year anniversary. I had two restaurants in Chicago. One, I did renew the lease right before I moved to Atlanta, and that was on the north side of Chicago in Old Town, where Cabrini Green used to be, but now it's predominantly white, yuppie, beautiful area. So I had a restaurant there in Old Town on Division and Wells called Surf's Up. Surf's Up is a brand that my brother started. I also had the one for 12 years, which is in South Shore. South Shore is where Michelle Obama grew up, south side of Chicago. And I had that one for 12 years.
Were they the same
They
restaurant?
were both called Surf's Up.
Surf's Up.
Yeah, and Surf's Up is a brand that my brother started.
So we're going to get to that. I want to circle back to the food and cooking part. So my guess is that you enjoy cooking and that you're a good cook, which is part of how this started.
I don't enjoy cooking.
No.
I am a great cook, but I love people.
Okay.
Cooking in this kitchen, I don't like cooking at home. I like to cook because of what the reactions of people.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll
Fair.
say that.
So getting back to Surf's Up, your brother's brand, did you two start it together or?
Nope, he started it on his own, and I would go and work for him sometime. After school, I get out of school, stop by his restaurant on my way home, and it was just fun being in the front, taking care of customers. At the time, I was also a server. I was teaching, but I was also a server at TGI Fridays, and I loved serving at Fridays. After my divorce, just trying to make ends meet, pick up the slack.
Yeah.
And I would work at Fridays on Thursday and Friday night for about 3 or 4 hours. And then I would work Saturday day side, Sunday day side. Then when my brother opened, I would stop and kind of help him a little bit. But it was my boyfriend at the time who really encouraged me for us to do it together because he really wanted a restaurant. I didn't. I'm like, I'm not a businesswoman. That ain't my thing. I'm a teacher. I get paid every 2 weeks. I like when I get paid. I serve at Fridays. I'm good. But I did enjoy it. But he is the one that really pushed me to open up Surf's Up, and we got Surf's Up together.
And then, so it started with your brother and he's franchised out to you, right? Yep. And then you sold your location a month before the 12-year.
I was one of the last ones standing. So he has had 1, 2, 3 locations that have all closed. I had the one that stayed open for 12 years, pretty much the entire duration of the brand. He still has it. He's in the stadium, in the Bear Stadium. So he has the Surf's Up in the Bear Stadium. But I branded it and put it on the map. I ended up on the cover of Food Industry Magazine. I was on the news with the governor. I've done a number of magazine articles, newspaper articles with Surf's Up, TV appearances with Surf's Up.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about this idea of Eat My Biscuits. I said, if I have to rebrand to an entire different state, entire different area, demographics are similar, but different area, then I'm gonna fuck it and do Eat My Biscuits.
Circling back to like all the accolades you were saying about how you sort of put Surf's Up on the map and how you were recognized and being on the cover of magazines and such. So much for quote unquote not being a businesswoman. I just wanted to I think other people would think differently.
People think I am an amazing businesswoman, but I am a people. I am a woman of people.
Yeah.
I am not a businesswoman.
Fair. So moving to Atlanta now and opening up Eat My Biscuits. So you served at Fridays, you had your full-time job as a teacher, then you opened up your own Surf's Up, and you did that concurrently. When you moved, tell me about the time of when you left Chicago to move to Atlanta and then Eat My Biscuits. How did you make that decision? What was the precipice for leaving Chicago to Atlanta? Did it coincide with the idea to open up your own restaurant?
So I've wanted to be in Atlanta for a long time. And I have visited recently. And Atlanta is just really Black. I've never seen so many Black people in professional roles. Black people like me. I ain't talking about these niggas. I'm talking about Black people. Okay. There's a difference. Okay. And in my restaurant in Old Town, I had experienced countless racial issues. They were calling the police on me saying I was selling illegal alcohol. I have something called Hennessy Wings. Literally, they were calling the health department saying my restaurant was dirty. It was just crazy. And the amount of prejudice in Chicago, I just couldn't believe it, right? Like 2019, 2020, what are we doing, right?
Yeah, agreed.
And Chicago is so segregated and so prejudiced. I lived in Naperville, which is a predominantly white community. I was raised in Oak Park. Oak Park is predominantly white. And then I went to Maywood, which was predominantly Black at the time. Then I went to all white schools, Trinity, River Forest, all white girls school. But to experience it in the workforce, right? And to have a business in Old Town, which is predominantly white. Lady left a voicemail and I'm paying $10,000 a month, not even serving alcohol, $10,000 a month to be in this space. I had an outdoor patio license and one of my friends was having a birthday party. He's a Nigerian. And a lady called and left this on my voicemail. I'll never forget this message. She says to me, "Hi, my name's Carolyn. I've gone to your restaurant several times. For the first time, it was last week, Wednesday. It's Wednesday again. I've already eaten there maybe 4 or 5 times. I love your restaurant. However, on Sunday, there were a lot of Africans outside eating and socializing. And I don't think that's good for business." And I was appalled. I never called her back because my conversation with her would have looked very different.
Yeah.
So I just didn't even respond to it. And then a lady called me one day. She said she had placed an online, a third-party order, Uber Eats. And I was explaining to her that our systems were all off because the restaurant was really busy. I placed my order. She went on a bit, "You black bitch, you black bitch." And then, "I'm going to call your manager." I said, "I am the manager. I'm also the owner. You're not a fucking owner. You just don't own anything. I'm going to go." She cut into me. And I said, "There's no way possible. I'm going to keep paying $10,000 a month to be treated and talked to this."
Yeah.
And that call happened in May of 2020. My lease was up in July of 2020. And that was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Where I'm going, where my money and my time and what I bring to the table is appreciated by everybody. Black, white, Hispanic, shit, turtles. I don't give a damn.
Sorry you had to deal with any of that, but I just don't understand why it would matter. Like, why would it matter? Like she said, going back to the story, the voicemail from Caroline, there were a lot of
Africans outside eating and socializing.
Great. I'm glad for it. I hear that. I'm just like, sounds joyful. Do you have a plate for me? I don't.
Yes. Am I invited? What's
the negative consequence of that scenario? Like, I know people see the world differently than me, and those people are racist, right? I think that we can safely say that about her. But I just don't see the connection between that scenario that she observed and she articulated.
And you're crummy and you're getting good food and you're saying that in this voicemail. And the other lady, I'm a nigger, I'm a black bitch, but you're calling because you want my food.
Yes.
It goes back to slavery days, right?
Yeah.
You let me breastfeed your child who's white and I'm black, but I'm still not good enough.
Yeah.
For this, that, or the other. So just that same mentality. I had a ton of great white customers and Asian customers and Hispanic customers, but to be treated like that and talked to like that and the false accusations, like where the health department had to apologize to me.
Yeah.
The job is if they're called, they have to come.
Yeah, I think one of the things I do a lot of math in my day job and my career, and I always have. And I tend to, as I'm thinking this out loud, think in terms, I guess, of a balance sheet. And I think of situations as net positives or net negatives. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's an amount of negativity in any given situation that one can tolerate and should be able to expect. However, when those negative moments or experiences outweigh the positive benefits of that scenario, or to a certain extent, it doesn't make sense. And it then creates, instead of a net positive experience, or it creates a net negative experience. And when you get into net negative, you're,
ain't mathing.
Correct. The math ain't math.
It just wasn't enough money to feel that way, to be treated that way, and to have to fight for my position there. And there were people saying, just fight. Nah, let somebody else do this fight. I'm good on this one.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Not everything deserves your attention or energy. And like sometimes it's just better to go to where you're treated best. So when you left Chicago, we covered the reasons that led up to that, and you wanted to, I guess, go to where you were treated best, or you had an idea
where I felt like it would be appreciated.
You would be appreciated. When you went to Atlanta, did you give up, like retire from teaching, or?
I moved here in December 2020 during COVID. I have asthma, and I had ended up with COVID, and it really flared up my asthma really bad. So I didn't have to go back to work when everyone else had to go back. So myself and my class, we were able to stay remote the entire year, which was great because I had those students 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and they were graduating. So I said, you know what? I'd already just up and moved. And I'm going to tell you this, if you ever leave Chicago, you got to move in the winter because summertime Chi is absolutely beautiful and you will never leave. But that winter, come December, it has snowed 175 days. It's been cold. You ready to go. So I up and moved abruptly. And so now I was here. I had not officially left teaching. What I did initially was I finished the school year remote, went back for graduation, did all of that, went back in August, and I applied for a leave of absence, non-paid, just mentally to kind of get myself together. That last year that I taught, 2 of my 8th graders were shot.
Oh,
one of our 1st graders was shot and killed. One of my 8th grade students was shot in the chest. She survived. Her brother was with her. He died. My other 8th grade student was shot in the leg. We had a 1st grader that was in the car at the McDonald's drive-through, and she was shot and killed. They were trying to shoot her father. I had several students that had been killed, that had been murdered. I had dealt with abuse, students that had been abused sexually, physically. I was mentally drained. Humboldt Park is one of the most drug-infested communities in America. And looking at that every day is just truly taking a toll on me. The amount of trauma and grief that a person over all these years, I had students that had lost both parents. I was tired. I was drained. I was mentally exhausted. So I had only signed my lease at my place here for 2 years. So the first year I finished teaching. The second year, I went on a mental leave to see what am I doing?
Yeah.
What's my move? And I never wanted to go back in that community again. I never wanted to drive through that and see my students outside before school selling drugs, telling me, Mr. Roy, I got to get this pack off. I'll be at school. I didn't want to go to any more of their funerals. I didn't want any more of these phone calls. I really wanted to disconnect. And I think I did it at a good time because the relationship that I built with those students and those families were coming to an end. They're come to an end.
Yeah.
Well, it was a new group of students that I didn't know. I knew some of their families because they were siblings and things like that, but I wasn't tightly connected to them. So I just thought, and I said, I'm not going back. And I retired and pulled out my pension. And I said, I'm going to say fuck it and do Eat My Biscuits.
Good. I'm so glad you did. We're going to get to the pension part in a second. Getting back to the environment of those students and the trauma that they experienced and then the trauma that you dealt with because of that, it's truly heartbreaking. It makes me feel upset hearing you talk about it. I can't imagine.
You see this every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
So I've traveled to other countries, not a ton, but I've gone to Europe more than a handful of times, different countries there. I've interviewed people on the podcast that live in those countries. And one of the things that, as it relates to this part of our conversation, is gun violence in America. I think for Americans, we take it for granted as this is a variable that we have to continue to deal with. But in other countries where they have tighter gun laws or guns are just plain illegal, this isn't a conversation that they would be having on a podcast because it's a non-factor, right? I don't want to necessarily spend a ton of time on this, but given your experience and then your exposure to, say, maybe just gun violence, what's your thoughts on that or the remediation of that aspect of violence in the community that you came from?
It's weird, right? Because I have a cousin and I remember him saying, I'd rather be caught with one than without. When it's gotten to the point that your safety at all times feels threatened, I am an advocate for very strict gun laws. I am a huge advocate for get them off the fucking streets. I have lost Damien, Miguel, Ryan, Jim. I have 4 first cousins that have been killed. One was playing a dice game. He won. Dice game, guns go hand in hand. It was almost expected, unfortunately. He won and was killed by his neighbor's son, where their parents used to have barbecues together. I have another cousin that was shot and killed dropping off an employee. He was my aunt's only child. My uncle died a year and a half later out of grief for the loss of his son. So she lost her husband and her son within a matter of 2 years. Literally, my uncle just wilted away. And my uncle, it's my father's sister, but her husband was my dad's best friend. We were teenagers. That death of my little cousin was traumatic to the entire family. He was such a good guy. He had no children. He was dropping off an employee. Then I had my first cousin's son was killed 4 years ago. He was passing out book bags on the west side of Chicago. Stray bullet shot him in the head. And then I have another cousin. I was surprised he got to see 21 because he was terrible.
Yeah.
I expected that of him. He was killed. He was only 21. So I've dealt with it within my own family. Like, I can't watch things like Power. I can't watch shit like that on TV.
Yeah.
I can watch a horror movie all day. But anything that has to do with Black men and violence, I cannot do it. So seeing it from my family and from teaching, I am a huge advocate. Huge. Lock all their ass up.
Yeah.
Get rid of all the guns. Find the people that are selling them. Put them under the prison. It has to end. Kids can't go to school. We can't go to churches. We can't go to malls. We can't go to amusement parks. We can't go to parades. How? And here, even in Georgia, is a free carry state. So everybody just walking around with guns.
Yeah, that's like something, that makes sense to me. Several years ago, I saw a celebrity on Instagram. They were part of a campaign in Britain, and it was like because guns are illegal, they don't have them, but they have knives. But I guess some knives are illegal too or whatever, but they have stabbings instead of shootings. Neither are good, but like,
way less,
right?
Any mass stabbings.
Exactly. It's not advocating for either, but if I had to choose one over the other, right, I would, have people have blades instead of guns. I mean, it's just insane.
It is. The guns in America is just.
I think you said your brother or your cousin, I think they said, I'd rather be caught with one than without one.
My cousin, yeah.
I think that's a fair point, but that's a response to the community or the environment that you're in because everybody else.
Yes.
So if that's the environment or community or country that you're in, I agree with that stance, but let's remove them from everybody or have better regulations around it.
Because you can't even regulate it, honestly. There are people who have registered guns that's doing these mass shootings. They're registered. They have conceal and carry licensing. They have FOI licensing, and they're doing these things. I have carry and conceal. I have a FOI license. I never want to use my gun.
Yeah. I think the other thing too is that America's so big and so diverse, and maybe having conversations like this and putting that into the world will help to some extent. I can be hopeful of that. But I can tell you, I have known about the violence in Chicago, but I haven't been as close to it as the conversation that we're having right now. And I seek this information out, right? I seek to have conversations with you and with other guests to better inform me and how I move through the world, and then to share that information with other people. But there's other people in the cities and towns that I've lived in or part of the communities I've been a part of that are oblivious to life in other parts of the country or the life that you just described in Chicago. And they have opinions, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. Seek to have a better informed opinion. Seek to understand how your actions affect you and the other people in your community that you're part of.
But a lot of people don't think people outside of their community are really part of their community. So if I'm in this area all the time, right? This is one area of Chicago. If I'm in here all this time, I'm going to have a completely different experience than this person in Chicago. You have to understand, the state of Illinois itself is only 12 or 13% Black. That's nothing, especially when you think about the amount of violence that's in Chicago. So here's one experience in Chicago. Here's a completely different experience. And you're in the same place. And you could literally just be 2 miles over.
Yeah, I wish there was, and this will probably never happen, but we are, whether people want to admit it or not, we are all in this thing together.
We are.
Period.
No one understands that, right? And we should think about that when they think about that 6 degrees of separation. We're all connected, right? My mom is still a registered nurse. I remember she used to always say this to me. I am always like helpful and good to people. She said, because I always think if this boy that she's working on, this patient, because she's worked Cook County trauma, intensive care, critical care, she stopped working intensive care at some hospitals because of my cousins being brought in, her nephews. But she says, I'm always like just who I am as a nurse, because what if this boy, this young man, comes in contact with my child one day? You never know. So you want to be caring and nurturing the people, because what if they come across your child or your brother? Then maybe how you treated them may have some impact on how they treat the next person. And I've always stayed true to that. You never know who's going to intersect or meet. So just be good to everybody. It's so easy.
I always think in things of like the amount of calories I need to burn to do something or friction involved in a process. Like, to me, that's the easiest thing to do. Not from just like a pure level of laziness, right? That seems to be the path of least resistance, right? Like, I'm going to move through this world easier just being nice to people rather than being a jerk.
Everybody's experiences have been different. Nobody's probably been nice to them. And maybe they don't know what nice looks like. Maybe they're limited to what it feels like. I don't know. It can get fucked up here, but I'll try and stay positive.
Yeah, same.
Let's take a quick break from today's episode. If you're enjoying the conversation, take a second to like, follow, or subscribe wherever you're tuning in. We'd really appreciate it. You can also find us on Instagram at Randall Osché. That's RANDALLOSCHE. And check out more at podcast.randallosché.com, including show notes and other resources from today's episode. All right, back to the conversation.
Getting back to the business, and I've giggled to myself and I've tried to contain it every time I've said it, but the name Eat My Biscuits and your logo is intentionally bold and feminine, a little sexy, I think that you've said in other interviews, risque, and a male-dominated industry. Why was it important for you to lean into that femininity rather than a more, say, conservative or traditional approach?
Because you're going to know this is a woman. It's almost kiss my ass. I can do this shit too. It is bold. It describes me. Eat My Biscuits is me. These are actually my biscuits. Seriously. This was made based on my butt in some pink boy shorts.
Nice.
So this is me, and it is bold. and it is brown and it is sexy and it is delicious. And it's more than just, it's saying that women can be many things. You're not going to put me in a box. I used to hear all the time, you don't look like a teacher. Damn, what is a teacher supposed to look like? You don't look like you can cook. Excuse me? You got to be this old, overweight, uneducated woman to have your way in the kitchen. Or you can't be sexy and be a teacher. You can't be a little ratchet and be educated. You can be all of these things. I'm a mother. I am a grandmother. I was a wife. I was supposed to be a wife again, but I ain't getting married no more. I called off the wedding. So I've been a wife. I am educated, extremely, but I am ratchet. And I like to twerk every now and then. I can cook, right? But I tell people all the time, you can take me from the trap house to the White House.
Yeah.
And I've proven that because I've been in a trap house and I've been at the White House.
I love that.
I've met President Biden and I've fed him and his wife and he ate my food. So I am bold enough to walk in these rooms and be able to present myself as such. And I'm also brave enough to go in the hood and talk my shit.
Yeah. And life is multifaceted, right? I struggle with this for the podcast. Conversations like this are what I seek out. I don't care if you're a restaurateur, or a teacher, or somebody who's trying to figure out how to get their first job. I want to have those conversations. But some people would say that I need to like niche and just talk to one group of people. But like, I'm not interested in that because there's different things in life that interest me. I've worked in kitchens, right? I love to cook. I'm a good cook. I wouldn't want to do it as a career anymore because it's tough. But if I could do a guest appearance in somebody's commercial kitchen for a shift, like I would enjoy it. I've had a career in finance for 15 years that served me well for the time.
He's a numbers man. He's an accountant.
Yeah. But like you don't have to, I don't know where this philosophy.
One way, one thing. Like, I don't know where it comes from. I think it keeps people safe, right? Here's your role. You play your role, done. Here's the next person. This is their role. They play that. I think it just keeps everyone safe and predictable.
Yeah.
You have certain expectations of a teacher, certain prejudices of a teacher.
Yeah.
You have certain prejudice and biases of an attorney. You think we always say all attorneys lie. You know what I'm saying? Like you just have these notions and ideas of people based off of these titles.
Yeah.
Even though we all hold many titles.
Yeah.
Some of us just bold enough, like myself, to say it and to show it.
Yeah. So you were on the Great Food Truck Race, season 18. What year was that?
Last year.
No shit.
Yeah, I left in March of last year. And it came out in August of last year.
We'll get more into that, but how I want to segue into that part of the conversation. What does that experience say about your philosophy of saying yes first and then figuring out everything else later?
Oh, man. You got to just take risks. You just got to get out there. And what will be, will be. You know, every opportunity is an opportunity. And you just kind of pray that it works out. I really don't know how to answer that.
No, I think scared money don't make no money.
Scared money don't make no money. You just got to go out there and fucking it's an opportunity, it's a chance. And I'm thinking, I didn't apply for that. I didn't ask for that. Someone came into my DM, maybe a talent person or something, asked me. So they're like a producer saw me, came across my page. But it showed the testament of even when every chair is not full in here, I'm still being talked about in rooms I've never walked in. So it's like that reminder. You got to be fearless. And I'm still very afraid. It was my first time to be on national TV, like to that multitude, right?
Yeah.
And I do yearn to be like in the comedy. I could see myself in the scary movie type comedy, a couples retreat type shit. Heartbreak Kid. That's my type of comedy.
The reason I asked the question that way, I read an article about that experience where you were approached to be on the show, which is the Great Food Truck Race, implying that you would have a food truck, but you didn't.
So
at the time,
nope.
You only had the brick and mortar place. So
I still don't have a food truck. So they basically told me, what if we were to present you with one? Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
I've never worked on a food truck. I've done festivals. So I'm like, shit, it can't be that different, right?
Yeah.
We'll see.
How was your experience on the show?
You learn that reality TV is not very real.
Thank you.
I did not have a food truck. I had an RV. The joke of the show was me with my 2-bedroom, 1 bath. we're constantly mic'd up, and I have such a potty mouth. I cuss every fucking body out every day, all day. My producer would be like, Vanetta, we can hear you.
So you're just like off the side talking shit about people, and you're like, oh, hot mic.
Like, Vanetta. I'm like, take that shit off me.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. It was a great experience. I would do it over again. I felt they put me at a huge disadvantage with not having a food truck. There were 8 food trucks, 1 RV.
Yeah, I'll say this for you maybe, but one of the things I have learned is that there's always a cost of education, right? And sometimes you pay for that education in the form of tuition. Sometimes you pay for that education in the form of the time you invest to do something the wrong way so that you can learn how to do it the right way. And since you've never run a food truck before, that was your first experience running a food truck, and a food truck is not a restaurant. So that experience was your cost of education to learn from it and do better. I think the only thing that anybody can ever ask of anybody is to, once you know better, to do better.
Once you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
It was great because one thing that really stood out is that I didn't go home because the food was terrible. I went home because my price point was too low. People have told me that I should have more expensive food, but I think about the community that I serve.
Yeah.
And Tyler, who is the Michelin chef, the host of Great Food Truck Race, he told me that my biscuits reminded him of his grandmother's biscuits in South Carolina. So the fact that this Michelin chef said on national TV that my food was fantastic and that it was delicious.
Crushing it.
The world knows about me.
Yeah. As they should.
And more will know. I've only been open 2 years, only 2.
Talk to me a little bit about that. How has your experience with this restaurant over the last 2 years gone? Is it meeting your expectations? Do you wish you could be doing more, better? Is business sustainable? How's that trajectory for you?
I'm getting bare. I'm getting by the skin on my teeth. I opened up. The first year was fantastic. The second year, they had a fence blocking the entire front of my restaurant for the entire year.
Not great for business.
Terrible for business. That was from February until November. I'm coming into my 3rd year, so I'm at 2.5 years. I'm still here. Bills are paid. I am a little behind on my rent by a couple months, but my landlord is working with me. Customers are still coming. I'm still here. Employees are paid. Bills are paid.
Yeah.
Rent a little behind, but I'm going to get through this. They always think the first 3 years are going to be the most difficult. Your first year, you're going to lose a lot of customers because you're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
You got to gain a rhythm in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You got to gain that rhythm with staff. I have the same staff that I've had almost since I've been open. They've been with me at least the last 2 years. So they probably only missed a half of a year. So turnaround has been great. I treat my employees, I pay them on time. So it's working out. I'm not financially where I want to be, but I can see it coming. I'm only open from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. I would want to make, ideally, $5,000 a day. That's it.
Yeah.
If I could do that, I would feel like I'm on top of the fucking world.
I love that. I'm sure you'll get there. I love breakfast. I love breakfast food. Craig Carlson was on the podcast. He is a best-selling author. He wrote a book called Pancakes in Paris, and it was about Craig's journey. He loved breakfast as well. He had an opportunity for work where he went to France because he could speak French, and he was in Hollywood. He was like a struggling screenwriter, I guess, something like that.
Right.
But he got this job to go back to Paris. He went there as an exchange student when he was a kid. He came back to the United States and he realized the only thing he missed about the United States was an American breakfast. So he opened up his first restaurant in Paris called Breakfast in America. So
I love that.
Yeah, I read the book years before I had the podcast, and he was like one of the people I was like, I want to have this conversation with you. Great story. Sort of like your journey about the first couple of years, there's some parallels there. So I have no doubt people like with you, if you keep going, you'll get to where you want to be. Circling back to, I think I mentioned I would get back to the pension thing, but I don't think I did. You go from Chicago to Atlanta to open up this restaurant, Eat My Biscuits, because you're looking for a net positive experience and you wanted to go to where you were treated best. And then you cash out your pension to invest in the business. Tell me about how scary of a decision that was, and what was like the moment where you were like, I'm sure you were thinking about it, and then you're like, oh no, I'm definitely gonna do it.
Well, when the check came and it wasn't enough because you get penalized.
Oh
in fact,
shit, yeah.
I said, oh my fucking God. Oh my God. I gotta go now. At that point, there's no choice. I gotta be on go. I got to.
Yeah.
I got to be on. I just took my security. I've already got the years of service. I just needed the age, right?
Yeah.
I just took my security and they took all these penalties off and all these taxes off of it. And I am fucked as an old lady. I definitely didn't do this in vain. This shit, I gotta do this. I gotta try this. Fuck. At that point, I just had to. The cost of everything, because remember, this was after COVID. So the cost of everything quadrupled. When you think about the price of wood, plastic, steel, metal, it had quadrupled. Concrete, things that you don't think about until you're doing a project like mine. And the building I found used to be an old auto parts. So I didn't take a restaurant, like a second generation restaurant. This used to be an auto parts store. So I had to lay new concrete, bathrooms, grease trap, like
exhaust.
Good.
Yeah.
HVAC. I had to do it all. I worked out some things with the landlords for them to pay for some things. But ultimately, a $300,000 job ended up costing me almost $1 million. It was initially quoted at about $360,000. And it ended up costing me about $820,000.
Yeah.
While I landed some investors, I maxed out all my credit cards, Amex, my platinum, my gold, my SkyMax, my Navy Federal. I maxed out everything.
No, you're fine. Sometimes the risk of the status quo or not doing the thing outweighs the risk of doing the thing, right? There's a risk of I'm going to live maybe a smaller life, or I'm just going to live off my pension, or I'm not going to have the richness of this experience of opening up my dream restaurant and doing it my way and branding it the way I want to brand it and bringing my true self. I don't know if there's any negative financial consequence that can come into play that will make up for not following your dreams. I don't know how much I believe this, but potentially I would rather die broke than not to have tried or lived.
I'm worried about a day that may never come. I'm worried about a fucking pension I may never get. I may die before I even could collect my fucking pension. So now where the fuck does it go, right? It ain't gonna go to whoever, to the state. Nobody ever dies saying, I saw this on Instagram the other day, nobody ever dies saying, I wish I had more money. People die and they say they wish they had more experience. They wish they followed dreams. They wish they took that risk. They wish they took that relationship. People in marriages that have been unhappy and they die and they say, damn, they wish they missed out on the love of their life. They don't say, damn, I wish I would have had some more money, because that more money is not going to make you well. Money is not going to buy the most important things, health.
Yeah.
They're not going to buy longevity to life. They're not going to do those things.
Yeah. The other thing I think about when it comes to money, certainly it makes life easier, but it doesn't do you any good in the account. Like collecting dollar bills in your bank account, for what? If you die with a lot of dollar bills in your account, what's the point of that? I really enjoyed our conversation. I want to do some quick fire questions as we wrap up here.
Okay.
What is the most influential book you've ever read?
The most influential book I ever read would probably be by Florence Scovel Shinn. It's 4 books in one. One of them is The Power of the Spoken Word. The other one is Your Word is Your Wand. And I forgot the other 2.
Put them in the show notes. She
was so far beyond her time. And I haven't read his book, but I looked through him a lot. Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, I like that. I like Napoleon Hill.
By Proctor.
What is one lie that they told you?
One lie that who told me? The people that I've read?
No, like they, the world.
Hey, like the world.
Yeah.
One lie that they've told me, is one lie that the world has told me. Yeah. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Not true.
Not true at all. Words hurt more than any sticks and stones.
Fair
Words
point.
are embedded in your brain. Words are the reason why people have become drug addicts and prostitutes, because of how people have talked to them. Not necessarily that people have hurt them physically, but how people have emotionally and mentally been abused.
Yeah, as you say that, I'm thinking about it for the first time, and it changes the course of some people's lives.
Yep. Way more than a car accident or than a damn whooping. But the words that people can't get out of their heads is so sad.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, fuck. Don't have kids.
Fair.
I had my first child at 18.
Yeah.
Kids are a joy, but children make you very vulnerable.
Yeah.
At any moment, my life can be swept from under me. And that's scary. It's very scary. I would probably say take the risk. I've really been, fuck it. I do everything right? I became a teacher. It's a very noble because I became a mother. But I have made some decisions that other people would not feel are popular decisions.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
rule number one, fuck what they say. I stand on it. Because
I like
they talked about Jesus Christ. So it doesn't matter what they say about you. If you can talk about Jesus Christ, then me, it ain't shit to talk about me. So rule number one, fuck what they say.
I like that. I think you cursed more than I, and I don't know
I
how to handle
definitely
it.
do. I want to interview. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No, I am open. I just did, we just released an episode a couple weeks ago, and the way the process works is I do the interviews, and then my editor will edit it, and then several weeks later it goes out. And I usually don't listen to the final version, so I sometimes forget what was covered or what was said, and I do that sort of intentionally. One is a time management thing, but the other thing is like I don't want to second guess the authenticity of the conversation and what goes out. So like my sister had listened to the podcast from a couple of weeks ago that got published. She's like, oh, I liked the moment where you guys were cussing. I was like, oh, totally forgot about that part. Totally.
Well, she gonna get some more of it.
Totally. Yeah. I enjoy it though.
It's having to hold it in so much for 25 years being a teacher.
Yeah. It doesn't, I think it maybe getting back to the conversation about wearing different hats in the world, and adults cuss. I was on the phone with the customer service a while ago, and I'm polite. I've been in customer service. I've worked in the call center as I worked my way up in finance, and I know what it's like to be on the other end of that phone, and I handle situations with respect and empathy off the get-go. But I have an expectation of like how things should go, and I have a certain level of patience that I'm willing to expend on a thing, especially if I'm paying for a service. And I don't remember the scenario, who I was talking to or what I was talking to them about, but it was something I had paid for, and I expected a level of service, and I was patient about trying to pursue that level of service, and I wasn't getting it. And then I started to get a little hot in the conversation, and I was cussing, but I wasn't cussing at the person. I'm not a name caller. I won't call somebody names, but yeah, I might have dropped some F-bombs or insulted the company, but again, not the individual. And the lady was just like, I don't tolerate that. I was like, adults can cuss. I don't care where we're at. I don't care. I've been, again, I've worked my way up. I've been in boardrooms with executives. I've had bosses that have made over $1 million a year. We cuss. Adults cuss. It's allowed. Maybe you don't want to do it around kids that are impressionable and don't know how to wield the sword of dropping the F-bomb.
I might do a couple of them in front of their ass with my grandkids. I used to give my kids 1 minute. You got 1 minute. And I'll start the timer. Anything you want to say, any curse. Oh, it used to be so fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Kids, so it's okay.
Last question, actually. For those who are listening, where can people go to find your restaurant? Where can people find you and or your restaurant on social media? This is your opportunity to direct our audience to find and being part of you on your journey.
You can find me. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Eat_My Biscuits. And I have a personal page on Instagram where you see a lot more of probably my personality. And that's V as in Victor, LIVE_baby, VLive baby. And you can also Google me, Vanetta Roy, and then you'll learn all about Chicago Public Schools, Surf's Up, and Eat My Biscuits. And I'm also on Facebook, Vanetta Roy and Eat My Biscuits Atlanta.
Yeah. Vanetta Roy, an educator of 23 years, restaurateur, and aspiring actress. Thank you for your time today. It was a lovely conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me here.
And that wraps up today's conversation on the Randall Osché Podcast. Thanks again to our guest for sharing their time, knowledge, and lessons with us. If the episode brought you any value, the best way to support the show is to follow or subscribe on your favorite platform. That helps us reach more people like you. You can also visit podcast.randallosché.com for blog posts, full transcripts, and other episode resources. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and keep moving forward.